Welcome to episode 62 of the Brainstorm. Nick, you're here trying to convince me that Amazon is in peril. I'm not so sure about that, but that's why we're here to brainstorm. First of all, Klarna, they're the ones we're centering this conversation around. What does Klarna do? And what's the recent news that has you worried for marketplaces?
Sure. To start, Klarna believe they started in the buy now, pay later space, but have since moved more into the digital wallet realm. So offering discount shopping, wallet features that you're probably pretty accustomed to as a consumer. But the interesting news is they're now moving into what I would consider the agentic purchasing agent space. So last week, they announced that they have developed a chatbot capable of scrolling, price comparing, and doing some of the search and discovery for a consumer when they want to go out and purchase goods online. I think this is really important, and I truly believe that this is where a ton of value will accrue in the AI space. You know, we have that question out there. I think it was Sequoia, $600 billion in revenue question. If you look at the CapEx spend of these major companies, you know, if you're spending that much on CapEx, you eventually have to show revenue for it. I think this is a $1 trillion plus space. We can show that in the modeling between ad revenue and take rate. So this ability to have an agent go out and act on your behalf, price compare across different marketplaces, it is extremely powerful. And to your point, could disintermediate marketplaces like Amazon.
All right. Now let me dig into, there's like three different angles of attack here. First,
go ahead.
Let's start with the digital wallet. Digital wallet, I feel like this is a term been thrown around in fintech for a very long time. And it's like, has anyone actually established themselves in this? Like, who is the leading digital wallet?
I think you have a few, right? You have Cash App from Block. You have the Robinhood, Coinbases of the world going at it from different starting points. I think this is maybe where the confusion lies, Sam. It's because you have all of these different companies that had started in different product categories that have essentially become features of the larger digital wallet story. So I think when most people think of a digital wallet, you're probably thinking first and foremost checking and savings account, which most of these companies that I just talked to now have, but each one of them started at different points, right? Cash App started peer-to-peer, sending of money. Same with Venmo. You have Robinhood that started in the brokerage space, Coinbase that started in the crypto space, but they're all starting to lay on these different features where now you have, IRA and retirement accounts, you have checking and savings, you have brokerage. All of this has become features to a larger digital wallet that each one now offers. So that might be where kind of the confusion lies, because each one of these companies came at it from a different angle, but are all heading towards the same direction.
And you think that digital wallet is winner take most? Because I'll say, at least in my experience thus far, exactly what you're saying. It's like, all of these have just layered on features, and I went from having, one bank account to now I guess I have many, but it's like I don't centralize on. I still centralize, I feel like, on traditional rails, but it's like, sure, Block has a great user experience for certain things and can use that, right? It's like I've never used Klarna, but I imagine if I did, it's like maybe some money would sit there, but it doesn't strike me as winner take most, as like an obvious end state.
I think if done correctly, it can be winner take most for certain consumers, right? This typically skews younger in demographic. Most people that are younger have these kind of neobank digital wallet solutions. And as they've built on more product and more features, you're starting to take more share of the overall wallet potential. And so I do think it can be winner take most. And I think it's, important to understand the long-term goal here. If you own the consumer's wallet. That is the most trusted digital data that a consumer owns, right?
Right.
So if you have that, you have a lead generation to build on extremely important product features, right? Like it doesn't stop at just a checking and savings account. You can end up owning a mortgage and car insurance and car payments and loans, all of that, which traditional banks have, typically been the owners of. These neobanks and digital wallet providers are headed in that direction. They're just starting with a younger demographic, but as those demographics age up and they go to buy their first home and go to buy their first car, if you own the wallet, you have a much higher percentage of owning that next purchase that a consumer makes. And that's why we think it's really important to, if you understand or if you believe that AI agents are coming and they will help us make purchases online, whether it's e-commerce or some of these larger purchases I just mentioned, owning the wallet is the perfect position to be in to layer on that agent, that purchasing agent.
Right. So then maybe I'll talk through what I understand you just said, and you tell me if this is right. I feel like we somewhat spoke about this with respect to Uber and Lyft a long time ago. And right, it's like someone should just have an abstraction layer where you type in your address and it automatically pulls both up and it says, hey, here's the wait times, here's the price, and then it just picks the better one. That's essentially what it's doing, right?
That's what it's doing for all of e-commerce. So, the example we gave, and shout out to Varshika for writing up the Sunday newsletter and finding this information. But when you go into the Klarna app and you search for, I think the example we did was AA or AAA batteries. And when you ask that, it will then prompt, do you care about a specific brand or do you have a budget in mind? You kind of click through the prompt, and then it will show you all of the different marketplaces where that specific type of battery you're looking for is available. It'll show you the price, so you can price compare across marketplace. And it will also show you, I think in this example, it gave delivery time. And that's really what we've been saying from the start. If you abstract away the marketplace itself, so take away the brand loyalty a consumer may have to Amazon or Walmart, what is the moat of a marketplace? It's inventory, pricing, and speed of delivery. So customer satisfaction bundled through those three things.
Yeah, but
and if you can offer that, let me finish.
Yeah, you finish.
Let me finish. If you can offer that seamlessly and be able to price compare across marketplaces, that is more power than the consumers ever had. And the amount of time it does this is a fraction of what it would take you as an individual to do this, right? When I went and played around in this, it was showing me marketplaces, to be honest, I hadn't even heard of, or retailers I hadn't even heard of.
You've entered the dark web.
Right? It's like I'm seeing retailers I wouldn't have thought of and I would have never given this purchase to, because I've just come so accustomed to, for some of these commodity type products going straight to Amazon and Walmart, because I know I'm going to get it, at least down here in St. Petersburg, I can get some things same day delivery. So that's obviously a very big moat, but being able to see where else it's available is very, very powerful. And if marketplaces don't position themselves correctly, they get abstracted away.
So I hear what you're saying. It reminds me, right? So it's like there's things that are already.
You hear it, you just don't believe it.
Well, so it's like Dupe. You've seen Dupe, which does it like for furniture specifically. I do think, right? Even I was looking to design a custom solution for clothing hanging, right? And I was like searching Amazon, and you see these things that are like $100, and then you search AliExpress, and it's clearly the supplier to that Amazon store, and it's $12.
Which is the majority of product on Amazon, likely. And that's like a speculation, but a lot of the product you see on Amazon is typically merchants, using AliExpress to sell and remarket a product on Amazon.
Right. So then it's like, I think what you're missing out on the value of the marketplace is trust. Right. And so it's like, I buy from Amazon because they have logistics down to a T. And it's like, would I rather spend $4 extra and be able to return it, no questions asked, at a UPS store where they scan it and box it and do all of that. It's like, yeah, that's it's like
Right.
I feel like the value of the marketplace is more than what you're making out to be. And then the other element is it's like if these agents can work that well, it's like why is that defensible? Why won't there be like 100 different agents?
Both great questions. I would say to your trust, and I think that's really important. And I think there's reasons to still believe that the major retailers that have built up the physical infrastructure needed to support logistics and returns still have a say in what this future looks like and can still very much shape the narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that you can get same day delivery is a very powerful moat, and that doesn't go away just because there's a new added abstraction layer on the software side of the equation. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what we're saying here. It's more what happens if that trust shifts from the marketplace to the purchasing agent, as in the purchasing agent has gone out and vetted the different marketplaces it's looking at to curate a result that fits exactly what you want as a consumer. Like, I
Right.
think a great example, and I'm glad you brought this up because Amazon has, Amazon's choice when you look at certain products. This is what Amazon would choose. And it's slightly gamified, and we don't need to get into the details of it, but it actually boosts, customer conversions significantly. I think it's, 25%. If you were to get that badge on Amazon, your, sales are going up on average 25%. So there is value to the trust, the brand that Amazon has built, the reviews, right? They do a lot to make sure that you feel safe purchasing something and knowing that you could return it if you don't like it. I don't see a world where that doesn't, also happen at the purchasing agent level, as in, the purchasing agent takes on the responsibility of providing that trust and safety to a consumer when it's vetting marketplaces. So it'll
Mm-hmm.
eventually not show you marketplaces that you have maybe returned from because it doesn't want to have to go through that hassle again. And it will be able to personalize down to the individual, not just by large demographics. And that's what I think is really powerful here. Like, give the example again of purchasing batteries. You and I, we have the same desire to have AA batteries, but you're a Duracell guy and I'm Energizer. And it knows that. And instead of you having to look through both when you search AA batteries, it just will always prompt you for, Duracell. If,
Right. And hearing you
that's what you
describe it,
like.
it almost seems like it's more of a risk to the resellers than the marketplace. Like if you're a reseller, then I don't know what value you're providing then.
Yeah, it's possible it could take out a lot of the margin and in terms of reselling product if, you can't optimize your result to come up high enough in the search result when someone prompts an purchasing agent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think there will be seismic shifts in how product discovery happens. Like, if you think about what Google did, it reshaped how people had to describe and build websites with SEO. I see a world where that could similarly happen when purchasing agents are looking at, different information and data availability for products, and you'll have to configure the product description to meet the what this agent typically looks for when going to search and
Mm-hmm.
discover.
Okay, so now they've rolled it out. You can use it. You can test it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the timeline for your vision? When do we get a true solution, not just a fun tool?
Well, I would say that this is pretty robust solution. If anyone has Klarna or wants to just experience what the future could look like, I would definitely download the app and play around with it because it is as close to a purchasing agent or the kind of picture that we've been painting of what it could look like as we've been describing on, this show. And I think the only next step is having the ability to execute the actual transaction. So making the checkout on behalf of the consumer. So right now it'll just show you which marketplace to go to. But if it also has the ability to access your wallet and you give it permission to fill in your information, there's no reason why it can't then just go and actually execute the transaction for you. That would be a full-fledged
Mhm.
purchasing agent. Now, there's reasons why a lot of this may not shape up, right? Does Amazon want its products being compared to Walmart's? From a business standpoint, probably not, right? They don't want you seeing what their competitors are selling these prices for. They'll make it as hard as possible for you to do that because they may then lose out on business. So there's, guards and rails that these companies may put up to not allow these agents to scrape their inventory to do this. And they may put up their own agents to, I think Amazon
Defense
has their own,
agents.
right? They have Rufus, which is, this exact concept, but specific for Amazon's marketplace.
Mhm.
And so it could be that, you have a personal agent that's able to go out to these different marketplaces and it actually has to do bidding with that marketplace's agents. And this all takes place in, real time, but it's, agents talking to agents bidding on behalf of a consumer and on a marketplace.
Yeah. I mean, I also wouldn't underestimate how hard it is to find a solution that the customer wants, right? Because it's like, even, booking flights is incredibly difficult to do. And
Right.
it's like, all the information's out there, right? You can use Google Flights, Kayak, whatever website you want to look at for flights. And it's like, it's still hard because each person's like, okay, here's my allegiance. These are the times. It's like, it's not always the same time. Want to go this. So I feel like it's
But
difficult.
in what you're describing is why this solution would be needed, right? Like just in hearing you talk about, oh yeah, I could go to Google, I could go to Kayak, or TripAdvisor. Imagine if you had something that went out to all of those in real time
that's what
and found
Google
exactly.
Flights does. Flights
But
pulls all of the
yes,
flights.
but it also doesn't have access to Southwest, right? Like there's guardrails that have been put up in place for Google to not get access to certain inventory. So like you kind of see the future in that respect of, certain companies won't allow their prices to be compared against their competitors. But I think the idea here is that we've never had technology capable of doing what we're describing, personalizing down to the individual, going out and acting on their behalf, building a digital persona to use to then, in real time, match, preferences to that individual. Like this technology we're talking about, generative AI, it's, I think, a lot more than people realize. And it's partially because we haven't seen a ton of productization outside of just, these chat bots. But I really think we're moving towards these agents being digital assistants and living really at the operating system level. So having access over your entire digital self and information. And the more that you hand over to it, the more useful it is. And that is an extremely lucrative and large opportunity. I mean, you're talking orders of trillions of dollars. And what we've outlined, and we'll put some hard numbers to this because we have a blog out there and we're putting out another one with Varshika's work. But if you were to look at just the advertising opportunity, so imagine the same landscape we have today, but now you're seeing advertisements when you prompt your purchasing agent. So you get one that's recommended specific for you, but you also get sponsored post as well. That could be a $600 billion industry for agents by 2030. And that would represent roughly 40 or 54% of the total, 1.1 trillion opportunity in digital advertising.
That assumes that the human is still in the loop. It's like if you remove the human for the loop, then it's like it's like you're either paying for the agent to purchase your product, or it's like you're not getting eyeballs in front of someone.
My guess is people would still want to have the ability to, when the product is prompted, say yes or no, go ahead and purchase this. They just don't want to have to take the steps of filling out their information every time. Like companies have tried to solve that in terms of e-commerce since the start, right? Like Amazon, one of Amazon's biggest moats in the early days was one-click checkout.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's just, extending that ease of purchasing to the agent itself. But I think you're still going to have human in the loop for most transaction, unless you're talking about maybe something that's on a subscription. But then if you look at, so advertising is one component of this, but if you look at the total amount of gross spending online that we've identified, so this takes into account e-commerce figures, but then other buckets of online spend that's not actually captured in e-commerce figures. You're talking about, human spending roughly $36 trillion in total spend by 2030, 25% of which could be addressed directly by agents. So, looking at an adoption curve. And then if you take, a take rate on that figure, you're talking about roughly $225 billion in revenue as like a take rate. So, I'm paying this agent a bit to do all of this bidding for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's a big market. I think it's harder to capture than you're making it out to be, because it's like, who sits in this position now and is not nearly that valuable it's like Wirecutter, right? It's like they're, for a subset of people, they're the go-to recommender of what to buy. It's like Reddit has built up trust in this segment. And so it's like, the technical ability, I think, is second to the trust and network.
I agree to a certain extent, but I think part of what you're describing is also the opportunity, right? Like Wirecutter, Reddit, those are used by certain, people for certain reasons, and everyone has their own Wirecutter. Like there's 5 or 6 different companies that do what Wirecutter does. And so I think when you abstract away all of that, again, Wirecutter just becomes one source for this agent to reference. And if you typically choose what Wirecutter, has, and the agent keeps surfacing that, then you'll continue to pull from Wirecutter. But if it's not Wirecutter, it's maybe another company that's doing price and, comparison. So it's, I think, a bit more, there's more to it than just saying like, this is just like a website that does price comparisons.
Yes. But right now that's what it does.
Like that's
but
like,
right now that is what it does.
But it does it in real time, and it across hundreds of products, and it personalizes, right? Wirecutter does it for a specific demographic of people, right? So now imagine you can say like, please go to Wirecutter and show me this, and then price compare it to, all of these other different companies that do the same thing. Like it's way more powerful than just one blog or, one Reddit thread, because it has access to everything. It has access to the entire, internet to be able to make this decision for you.
But it's like, no one cares about I don't care that there's 1,000 products that I could buy. It's like, there's 3 products that are ultimately what I'm going to choose between. So it's like, who cares if it can access all 1,000 of them?
But even if there are 3 products you would ultimately, like, let's, use this example, like, okay, there's 3 products you would ultimately choose from 1,000 different SKUs of it, but those 3 products are sold on 10 different marketplaces at varying prices with different shipping options. Wouldn't you want to have that information handy? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out. But I feel like, we can wrap. I get it is a big opportunity. People should go experiment with Klarna and see for themselves. It would be great to hear in the comments what people think, what their shopping habits are, and what it would take for you to trust an AI agent to do your purchasing.
Or Rufus. Rufus is another great example of what we're talking about. Specific to Amazon, doesn't do the cross marketplace comparison, but it does, is essentially what we're saying. So yeah, definitely would love to hear from people. Obviously, I think this is a very big market. Sam seems skeptical and doesn't think that having a digital assistant in your pocket is a powerful thing. But to each their own. That's fine. If Sam doesn't,
I'm just not buying a lot of random things, I guess.
Yeah, you might just not be a good consumer for this product.
All right, we'll see everyone next week.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.